Welcome back to the 25 Days of Flows, the Power Automate Advent Calendar. On today, we're going to talk about approvals. And approvals are what I consider to be the most inclusive of all of our features. Reason being, it's consistent. It's a consistent across every industry, across every business, across every user role, no matter where you are. For example, there are some people that never need to connect to SharePoint. So, not crazy about talking about SharePoint connectors. There are other people that need to connect to Dynamics, and so they're crazy about talking about Dynamics connections and how you can use Dynamics to facilitate your sales and how you can use Dynamics to get your invoices paid, even as you think about enterprise resource planning. But that's kind of an audience all by itself. But approvals are something that kind of cross everybody. And it's the one thing that I think brings us all together. So, day 8 of the 25 Days of Flows is all about who needs approvals. And we're going to talk about templates. So, you're going to have lots of things that you can build, and you don't need to download this one. When you get the app, though, you will get one of the templates when you click download the flow. And what we're going to do today is learn what approvals are in Power Automate and take the first beginner challenge in the series. So there are 2 beginner challenges in this series, and these challenges are only open to beginners. So those of you that are out there who are intermediate and advanced, you don't need to take this challenge. And if you want to, you could skip this day. But those beginners out there who have never made an approval, here's your chance to engage. You can take this challenge, which I will explain as we get there, and then post it to social media, any social media you prefer, Twitter, LinkedIn, tech community, wherever you like, and just hashtag it. Make sure you hashtag it 25 Days of Flows and hashtag beginner challenge. And I will show you that as we get to that part in the video. So let's get busy getting a few best practices and a few concepts we need to understand about approvals. So, who needs approvals? A beginner challenge about templates first. Tomorrow, we're going to have a great flow that illustrates the power of approvals as well. But the connector here, that's the superstar today, is approvals. And everyone gets this connector. Really, if you have flow, you have the ability to perform an approval. So what is the value of these approvals? And so I'm going to back up and talk about approvals that existed before flow, right? Before Power Automate, we all had certain processes that could not be completed before certain people submitted their feedback to help refine that thing, whether it be a document or a quote or maybe an article draft. Whatever it is, we usually start by needing some kind of feedback, and then we incorporate that feedback, and we end up with people who are authorized to say, yes, this is good, we can now proceed. Maybe at Microsoft, we say it's customer facing. Maybe in your company, it says now you can cut the check. Maybe in another place, it says now you can dig a ditch. But it's key to getting things done. And what has happened is that people basically have these approvals in every format you can imagine. They come in email, they come in spreadsheets, they come in SharePoint lists, they come in Dynamics workflows, they come in Salesforce workflows, they come in all kinds of ways, right? And so there's no standard, right? And so what Power Automate has achieved here is a way of standardizing that critical step in all of your processes so that you have a very clear path to getting those approvals, and you can reduce the amount of bottlenecks and the amount of balls falling through the cracks, okay, because people forget or it's under a stack of paper. So I'm going to talk to you about what I consider to be the key advantages of the approval feature, which is one feature that will help you in all of these cases. So first, it kind of helps to consolidate these approvals. They're happening all over your business. How can we make a way to consolidate them in one place so that the people that are being called to approve will be able to find them? So they imagine they had one place they could go, and if they go there, they would see their approvals. So here I'm looking at 7 approvals waiting for my attention. But those dots can be from any system in my company, right? Any one of them. Next, time is of issue. I'd like these approvals to help me speed up these processes, because you'd be surprised how many processes slow down to a crawl just because an approval is pending. So the whole process just went smoothly along, swimmingly moving from step to step until it got to the approval. The person was out on vacation. The person didn't get the approval request. All kinds of excuses why this approval is not yet done. Some good, some bad, but irrelevant. We need to speed up these approvals. Thirdly, we need to provide visibility, right? Again, this relates to number 1. How can I know what I need to approve, which is number 1, but how can others know what's pending? That's this one. How can we raise visibility in the company, no matter where you are in any process, as to what's going on? This is critical because people can make decisions based on that process stage. Where is it today helps me know what I need to do next. It also helps me to recognize where I need to rectify things or get people help where they're not being able to be successful. So visibility is beyond the people participating in the approval. It flows outside of people who are involved in the results. Next, we have this ability to connect people. So I don't know if you've ever had a multi-tier process where, like, one team, think of support. First tier of support escalates to the first tier, to the second tier escalates to the third tier, and so on. And so each of these escalations are connecting a new group of people, right? And when you think about approvals as you move through cross-group collaboration, it's important that these different participants can see the impact of each other, right? So somebody might be waiting for an approval, which is causing him to not be able to deliver to the next person what they need. So there's impacts, not only from a product perspective, but from a people perspective. So we need to raise visibility into people understanding what's before them and what's after them if an approval is needed from them. Finally, approvals should drive consensus, especially when you talk about getting feedback. So if you use approvals for getting feedback from people, that feedback should be integrated into the product, the document, the thing, so that the approval will be easier and quicker. In other words, that feedback served as a precedent for making the approval easier. And so in many cases, approvals, collect feedback mechanisms can drive consensus. Finally, approvals being managed in the right way definitely saves money, because delays in product delivery, delays in service requests, delays in document creation and approval, all of these things can take money out of the business's bottom line, because the money that's being lost while the approval is pending, it just escalates the longer it takes. Whereas the quicker we can approve things, the more money we can make and less time is wasted. And I agree with the old expression, time is money. Finally, I think the most important reason for approvals, in my personal opinion, is the cross-subscription collaboration. So you think of all of Microsoft Cloud subscriptions, Office 365, Dynamics 365, Azure services. If you had one way to approve all of it, imagine the confusion that this removes. Imagine the ambiguity that drops out of your daily life. And imagine the ability to not have to keep creating a process from scratch. Hey guys, we need to get approvals. How do you want to do that? Do you want me to create a Teams instance? Do you want me to make a SharePoint list? Would you prefer I use a Dynamics workflow or a flow? Okay, so we're starting from scratch every time we need an approval. Hey, everywhere you're going to need an approval. Let's do it all the same way. And then we kind of eliminate this design build effort every time we start something new. Okay, so these are the reasons why I say everyone needs approvals. Everyone. Because it is something that can help your business have better outcomes, and it will return money to your bottom line. Because it will save time, raise visibility, reduce error, and stop those balls from dropping. Okay, so where we're going to start with approvals today, and this applies to beginners or anyone else, is in templates. And the challenge for the beginners is simple. Use one of the templates to facilitate an approval process at your job. Now you can decide, I want to do this privately and just try it out, and I'm not going to tell anybody. But if you want to be a hero, make this beginner challenge template that applies to something you do at your job, and tell somebody about it. And see if you can maybe become a hero because you've saved time or money. So let's go back to Flow, and we're going to browse these templates together real quick. So notice at the top of the template. So by the way, I went to Flow to Power Automate. From wherever I like to go to Power Automate, maybe I went from my apps screen, I went to Power Automate, and then once I'm there, I click on templates. This page is golden for saving time. Golden. And you'll notice that we have all these subcategories here to help you target different types of templates, different purposes for templates, right? And so notice that the fourth one is approval. But I could also type approval up here, or I could type sign off here, right? Because approval, there's basically three types of approval. There's kind of that request feedback type, then there's a sign off, and then there's approval. And this is, I'm not speaking about Power Automate, I'm speaking about in the business world. Request feedback usually starts at the very beginning of a process where you start requesting approval after something has been drafted. But then sign off is like, hey, this draft is ready for approval. And then there's approval. That's what I've seen like in the regular business. But in Power Automate, all of these fall under approval. Okay? And you can use approval for any or all of them and other things. So it's really cool. It's a very broad feature, in my opinion, one of the broadest features in the platform. So let's look at a couple of these templates that they have here together. They're very typical business patterns. And what I'd like you to do is to give us feedback on whether or not these are the right templates for this purpose. Now, I don't want you to put those ideas underneath this video, and I really don't want you to email them to me either, because the best thing for you to do to get us feedback is click on this question mark up here and click Give Feedback. If you put it in Give Feedback, which is our ideas forum, then other people vote on it. So my one voice is weak next to your one voice, but your one voice is weaker in perspective to the world. So by using the Give Feedback link, you will enable the world to join with you. And what happens is people start to vote on these ideas, and we see which ideas get the highest vote, which influences the engineering teams more than any one voice ever could. So please try to remember to put your feedback. Just go up to the question mark in Power Apps or Flow and click on Give Feedback and go ahead and put your awesome idea in the Ideas Forum. Let your friends know, hey, I voted for it. Do you agree? If they say, yeah, I'll say, go vote on my idea, please. And the more ideas that we have, the better. But the higher the votes, the more likely it is that we can influence change. So please do that for me. Okay, so now let's take a peek at a couple of these that I like. So this one, some of these SharePoint ones, what's really cool is that you can see SharePoint here, is that they also exist directly on SharePoint. So you don't actually have to come to the template gallery. If you're in SharePoint, for instance, we've carefully integrated this stuff directly into our SharePoint list. So right at the top, you have flow. And then if you click on create a flow, you'll get all the templates here that will pop up. And approval is right at the top. All right. And then you can click see more to see more. See more is our good old friend from a designer, right? We have them here too. So check out them there as well. So a lot of times our integrations will help you find these templates. One that I like here is post a message to Microsoft Teams for a selected file. So let's say I'm looking at a file on SharePoint. I could use this flow to kind of post a related message on Teams. Another one that's pretty, I think it's pretty intermediate, but it's really easy to do because the template is already made, is onboard new vendors through a form and approval process. So you're going to have, you're going to have Microsoft Forms here. Involved in collecting the information, but then the approval process will be helping you to onboard those people. Approvals get involved in everything, so you'll notice that approvals are involved in getting a data set into Power BI, right? How do we get a data set into Power BI is a really cool thing that I love to do, but also to have it done as the result of an approval. So that means that you're doing two things at one time. You're approving something, but you're also adding it to our data insights. And so I like that one. That's pretty awesome. And then you have some email approvals that are being tracked, right? Maybe when an email has a certain auto reply, then we can track requests on that auto reply. So lots of great templates involve approvals. Even involving Dynamics 365 Business Central. You'll also see Dynamics 365, I believe, opportunities here. So lots of cool things involved in approvals. And remember, if you're a Dynamics customer, your data is included in the Common Data Service. So you could also run a search on Common Data Service and get a bunch of templates that will help you with Dynamics data. So remember that. And if you type CDS, this is the short name for Common Data Service. And sometimes you'll notice it doesn't find any templates. Again, if you think CDS should be a search parameter, go ahead and put that in our ideas form. Otherwise, spell it out and you'll get the templates for it. I am in the approval category. I just want you to know that. That's why this search is filtering within approval. If I clicked all flows and search for the Common Data Service, I'm going to get many, many, many more. Okay? So understand that where you've selected in that filter will impact what's being returned from the search results. Okay? That is the end of day 8 because today is a beginner challenge. Go create an approval with one of the approval templates, any one you'd like. But I'd like this approval that you create to do something that helps you at your job. And if you can be brave and share that approval with your team, you actually might also become a hero, saving your team time and money and improving visibility and delivery. So remember, approval, it's a great feature. I believe who needs approvals? Everybody needs approvals. If you got a job, You need an approval. So have a great weekend, and I'll be talking to you tomorrow when we're going to deep dive into approvals and do some really fun stuff in one single flow. So I'll be talking to you tomorrow at day 9 of the 25 Days of Flows, the Power Automate Advent Calendar.